You ever been scrolling online and you come across a profile that's, well, basically a blank slate? No photos, no real updates. We're going to dig into why some people choose not to put their whole lives on display. And let me tell you, the reason is probably not what you think. This is the first question that pops into our heads, right? You see that default avatar or that empty feed, and your brain just starts trying to fill in the gaps. You wonder, what are they hiding? Are they just boring? We're so used to seeing a digital life as a mirror of a real person. So when that mirror is empty, it feels like a total mystery.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Look at how this flips our usual assumptions completely upside down. We assume they're shy, but what if they're actually powerful? We think they must be insecure, but what if they're incredibly confident? We might guess they have a boring life, but the reality could be that they're being super strategic.
And that gets to the absolute core of it all. For a lot of these folks, an empty profile isn't a sign of absence, it's a statement. It's not about hiding from the world, it's about taking back control over who gets to see you, and just as importantly, how they see you. It's an active choice, not just something that happens to them. So this leads us to the first big idea here, what we can call the digital mirror myth. This is that unspoken rule in our society that our online life has to be this perfect, shiny reflection of our real one. A nonstop feed proving that we're happy, we're successful, and we're always doing cool stuff. I mean, think about it. There's this huge pressure to document everything, isn't there? If you go on an amazing vacation but don't post the photos, did it even really happen? That's the myth right there, in action. We're kind of taught to get our experiences validated by likes and comments, almost believing that a life that isn't shared with the public is somehow worth less. Okay, so how do people push back against this? Well, that brings us to our first pillar. This is where we start to see this online invisibility not as a weakness, but as a real source of confidence. It's all about taking back power over your own self-worth.
And this is actually grounded in a really cool psychological idea called self-verification theory. Basically, it just means that we all have this natural drive to be seen for who we actually are, for who we see ourselves to be. So when you're not posting, you're not farming out your identity to the internet for approval. Your sense of who you are comes from inside you, not from a bunch of likes.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's all about that internal validation. People who live by this, they know their worth isn't decided by how many people tap a heart on a photo. It's this quiet, solid confidence that doesn't need a screen to feel real. All right, so power over your self-worth. That's number one. The second piece of the puzzle is all about perception. This is where things get really clever. It's the art of curating your own mystery. The concept here is called impression management. And look, we all do this a little bit, right? We choose the best photos, the wittiest captions, but not posting, that takes it to a whole other level. By deciding what you withhold, you become the master of your own story. People can't make a snap judgment about you from a feed because there is no feed. They actually have to talk to you, to engage with you, to figure you out. I love this quote because it just hits so hard today. In a world where everyone is oversharing everything, a little bit of mystery is, well, it's magnetic. It makes people curious. By not putting all your cards out on the table, you're inviting a real connection, not just having people scroll past your life. And this brings us to the third, and maybe the most crucial, source of power, actually breaking that like cycle. This one is all about getting your mental energy back and taking power over your own attention. The psychology behind this is called stimulus control. Let's be real, social media is literally designed to get you hooked. It works on this endless loop of action and reward. So by choosing not to post in the first place, you're basically removing the main trigger, the stimulus, that starts that whole addictive cycle. You're cutting it off at the source. And you can see that cycle right here. It's so familiar. Step 1. You post something. Step 2, the anticipation kicks in. You start checking your phone, waiting for a reaction. Step 3, the reward. You get that little dopamine hit from the likes and comments. And then step 4, you want to do it all over again. By just not taking that first step, the whole chain falls apart. So at the end of the day, opting out is a conscious decision to protect your own mind. It's saying, you know what? My focus, my time, my energy, it's worth way more than the temporary buzz I get from a notification. So let's pull all these threads together. What we're really seeing is that being unseen online isn't about being invisible at all. It's about a totally new and, frankly, empowered way of handling your digital identity. It all boils down to these three incredible sources of power. First, you get power over your self-worth, so your value isn't tied to some online score. Second, you get power over your own narrative, so you control how people see you. And third, you get power over your attention, protecting your focus from that addictive social media loop.
And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about. In a world that is constantly screaming at us to be seen, to perform, to prove we exist online, maybe the real power isn't in showing everyone who you are, but in carefully choosing who gets to truly hear you. What could you gain by embracing just a little more mystery?